Hey guys, are you looking to make a move out of the state or maybe even just to a different city within your state, but you're not super familiar with it? If so, you definitely want to stay tuned for the rest of this episode, where I talk to some clients who have become good friends, Chris and Tony Ann, who recently relocated to the Knoxville area from Long Island. So we're going to give you guys all the dirt on everything big move related, like how long does it take? Do you need to work with an agent? What are some of the biggest challenges you might face? What are some words of wisdom that you might appreciate having? So stay tuned as we dive in. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I really do appreciate it. So let's kind of dive in. You guys are originally from Long Island.
Yes.
Relocated to the Knoxville area. So why and how did you guys make the decision to come to this area?
So, Shelby, Chris and I were thinking about leaving Long Island for a few years, and we started to look at different states. And I have to tell you, when we came here, it was perfect. Dog-friendly, outdoorsy. People here truly have beautiful Southern hospitality, and I just think it's wonderful. Space, we got 6 1/3 acres, and we came from a very small area. So, but just having that space is just really great. And I can't believe you can go to any store here and people will let you bring your dogs in. It's amazing to me, So those are the things I really love. And that it's so light out at 9:30 at night in the summer. That's like one of our favorite things.
You get an extra hour, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now that you guys have been here a little while, what do you think, now that you've kind of had the experience, you talked about what drew you, and would you recommend this area to anyone else looking?
I would recommend it to other people, but I think you have to go and visit. I don't think it's for everybody. It is quite rural, but we are close to local town. Knoxville's 30 minutes, the airport's 20 minutes, food, milk, that's about 15 minutes. So that's really what we looked at when we tried to pick a town, besides all the other great things.
But you do have a lot of choices too, right? So we wanted a rural area.
Yeah.
That was a little bit remote. We did not want to be in an HOA. We did not want to be stuck in a suburb. We wanted to have space. But you could have suburbs. You could even have urban if you wanted to go into Knoxville itself. Mm-hmm. But that's not what we wanted.
And I love where you guys landed. You've kind of got the best of all those worlds because you can be in Maryville or in Knoxville pretty easily within 20, 30 minutes.
Sure.
Yes. But you're not having to live right in it.
Right.
Which is fabulous.
Yes.
So when you were evaluating all these things, how did the economics play into your decision?
So I think really, as Tony said, the main focus was just finding a beautiful area, lots of great people, friendly, dog friendly. That was like the main attraction. For us, the economics was a plus, right? It was just an extra. We think about our taxes. We were spending over $18,000 a year for school and property taxes for a simple little middle class house, right? Nothing crazy. And we'll be a fraction of that here. Car insurance, homeowners insurance, again, we're, less than half what we're paying. Even we're finding like with restaurants and entertainment, there's a lot to choose from in Knoxville and Maryville, even some wonderful places in Friendsville. And it's much more reasonable. So you could do more. You could go out
with your money. Yeah.
Yeah.
And no state tax.
Yep. No state income tax. I mean, that was another plus, right? It wasn't the driver. It was just an extra. I think, the nice thing too is we found out, and, we're learning more about it all the time, is that there's no loss, right? So you've got reduction in all those taxes, but I would not say there's a reduction in services. I think just the state is much better run.
Yeah.
There's no waste.
There's no waste. That's the best way to say it.
I remember laughing because when we were on the phone early in our working together, and we were talking about property taxes, and I was describing our property, and I said, well, we pay about, $1,600. And your response was, per month?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that's per year.
Yeah, that was a hard one to get.
That was, yeah. And, with me coming from up your way, it was like, no, I totally get it because, property taxes up there are crazy high. So it was like, yeah, no, totally different ballgame here. So let's switch gears a little bit. How important did you guys feel it was to have a realtor working with you, helping you find properties? And how would you suggest finding a great person to be working with to help you with that?
Well, I would have to say the first thing would be if you know somebody who could recommend somebody. Now, I didn't have anybody who recommended you, but when I called your realtor's office, they did say, oh, we have a perfect person for you. She came from up north. She understands, and she'll understand your accent. That's the other thing they said. So I was very excited when I met you because I knew we kind of clicked together, and I think that's important. The realtor has to understand what your wants and needs are. And I think you have to be very clear as to what you want so that the realtor can do his or her job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember getting that phone call from my team leader at the time, and he's like, you need this one.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, why? And he's like, because you speak Northern.
Yeah, I think I spoke too fast for him. I think he got a little nervous.
So good. I think it kept him on his toes.
I think there was also a lot of other services that, we came to realize that you, especially you, right, with your expertise provided, that you need. So it's, again, in New York, where we came from, right, you're accustomed, you use a lawyer for a lot of services.
Yes.
So in this case, you provided all those services. You provided that guidance as to how do we handle the contracts, for purchases, how do we handle the bidding process. When it got into, okay, so if you're going to even try to do that, you need to get a loan. You provided that expertise because you knew the local market as to what are sources for mortgages, right? What are sources for surveyors? And I think, an extra really great service that you gave us was about the builders because we were kind of, we were unsure, did we want to build or buy, right? So you had helped us figure out, okay, if you're going to build, you got to say, what do you want to build? Is it custom build? Is it semi-custom build? Is it spec build? And we talked about a log cabin. And you were, gracious enough to set us up with examples of each. And I called each one of them before we came. Mm-hmm. So that we kind of knew, okay, we weeded them all out except for log cabin. Mm-hmm. And then, we were able to have conversations with them. And then, again, you set up interviews with us with them on site, which was awesome, right? So we got to see their work, talk to them, and we all narrowed it down, I think, immediately. Right?
We knew after the second appointment which one.
Yeah, we knew Appalachian Log Home. We knew it was awesome right then and there.
Well, and I remember that day and going to meet with the two different builders, and it was just that second builder responded to what you had asked for and gave you what you wanted and had prints, like blueprints and floor plans ready for you for what you wanted. And that was hugely important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was transparency, trustworthiness. Yeah. Very honest.
Kind of see it and as close to touching it and feeling it as you could get with a blueprint. But so what kind of, we've touched on it a little bit, but what kind of planning did you think was the most important so that the buyers and their agent can make this process as smooth as possible for the buyers?
So I think we, Tony and I started ahead of time, which was a big plus. And we made a list of our kind of like our must-haves, right? Yeah. So I wanted a large kitchen. Tony Ann wanted, lots of covered porches, like front and rear porches.
Walk-in closet.
I love your closet.
I wanted a pantry. We wanted a place.
Got one.
Right? We wanted a place for the dogs to run and play. So we made all that kind of as our must-haves. And we had a few extras that you say, okay, if we can come up with this, that'd be great. And then we also had what I would call like the showstoppers, right? Things that if we saw, we're like, nope. So we did not want a creek on the property. Did not want to be waterfront. Because coming from Long Island, we've lived through too many hurricanes, too many nor'easters and floods.
As if flood insurance is a thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to deal with it.
Yes, it was.
So we made all that, and then that was, I think, helpful for you then to say, okay, now here's where we could start. The other thing we did, which I think was really helpful, we use Google Earth, but, we said, okay, where do we want to be? So Tony wanted to be close to a city. So we said, okay, let's kind of put Knoxville as our city, and let's draw us like a circle, draw a radius around it out about 30 minutes. And then what are all those towns? Mm-hmm. And then we said, well, what else has to be nearby? And we kind of made a list of those areas. And again, that's what we approached you with and gave you as a start, which was, I think, then you were able to really do your magic and kind of say, okay, what do we, here's where we can go from here, guys, which was great.
And we had those not for you.
Not for you moments.
Not for you moments. So from the buyer's perspective, what do you guys feel the buyer should expect from their agent? I know kind of what I do and how I deliver service, but from the buyer's perspective, what do you feel like buyers should be able to expect their agent to do for them?
I would say you're obviously counting on knowledge of the area, right? They've got to know their area. They've got to be able to guide you. They've got to be able to tell you, did you come up with a list of like your must-haves that are not even possible. So, for example, if we said we wanted to build a log cabin on a 5-acre plot of land with, I don't know, like a security gate up front, and have a pool and a townhouse and all these other like country club amenities all together, it may not be possible in the area we picked. So we're counting on you to tell us it does not exist. You're not going to find it.
And certain areas that just weren't right for us based on what we were telling you.
Yeah.
Is really important.
Exactly.
So that was key. Also like what's realistic time frames, and really be able to explain to us the whole process. How does that process work? What do we need to be prepared to do, kind of step by step, so we can stay ahead of it. And that's what you did, and that's what I think made it so.
Yeah, because Tennessee obviously is very different than New York in regard to those steps.
How do you guys find the right property? How would you recommend other folks from out of the area find the right property when you've got a limited amount of time? Like you guys weren't down here indefinitely to go look at everything. So how did you navigate that? How would you recommend other people do?
I think that you really need to visit the property more than once. What we did, I think, was excellent, where we took that circle kind of, and we took the city as the middle, and then we drew a circle 30 minutes out, to go into the airport and go into, the main city and going out to dinner and getting milk and bread and all those things. Where's the doctor's offices? Where's the vet's office?
Where's the physical therapist?
Where's the physical therapist office? Yes. So it was important. I actually made a whole list of, things that I had in Long Island that I wanted here. And I made sure that they matched somewhat. So that was very important. I think that was probably the best thing we did. And also when we were looking, I guess when you had that on the computer, you were kind of with the filters, I guess you were changing the filters up about what types of homes and land. I think we tightened them too much. And then you said, well, let's loosen them just so we could get more in there. And then I think that was more helpful. So I think not always thinking it's got to be this, because it doesn't always work out that way.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was really important.
I think the other thing that we did is, because the market was fast, right? Everything was fast and furious. Houses, as soon as it was up, it was gone.
It was gone, yeah.
So I think we kind of learned and said, okay, you go look at one house, even though it's gone, you look at the house anyway, it's still being listed and shown. Let's check out the neighborhood, So we drove the neighborhood, and it's like, okay, we do or we don't like it. And then that allowed us to, take some towns out, add some towns in, or kind of better define, maybe some of our needs that we thought about, wasn't sure. So I think that helped a lot too, because then we were able to say, you know what, that's too busy, that's too suburban. We want a little bit more rural, so that was really helpful too.
Well, and I know you guys took time outside of our time together when you were here to just drive around and do
Yes, I think that was really important.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah, and I tell people this all the time, but it's like, I want to hear everything you think so I can learn to see through your eyes.
Yes.
Because I can't tell you what you're going to think about a certain area or a certain neighborhood or the proximity to the grocery store. Everybody's expectations and what they like and don't like is different.
Yes.
And it's funny, before we picked Tennessee, we were looking in another state, and they had some pretty nice rural areas. And I remember we drove, and we were at one of those little luncheons, like for my cousin Vinny, right, where it was on the lunch special.
House attraction,
right?
Lunch.
We drove from that little area. We drove another 40 minutes, kind of like uphill and winding roads to get to the house. And I just said, if one of us has a heart attack,
It's over.
It's over. Time of death.
We need a helicopter to get us out of
You
the...
should never get out. You never get there. So what we did is when we drove the neighborhoods here, we basically clocked it. We're like, okay, where are we? How long does it take to get there? What towns do we pass along the way, if anything? Right? Like Tony Ann said, where's supplies? Where's a good beer place?
Important stuff. Yeah.
Where's the wine store?
Where's the wine store? Where are the really good restaurants?
Yep.
So I know you guys have a little bit of a different situation since you purchased land and then built, but like, how long did the entire process take for you guys?
So we were thinking about this before. It's kind of ironic. Yeah. We're actually we left New York a year ago today.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
1 year ago
tomorrow is exactly a year that we
got to Tennessee.
We got to Tennessee.
You rented the house
and tomorrow. Yes.
We stayed overnight in Virginia, like a little past the halfway point, because we drove down with the dog and 2 cars.
The dogs with us in the car.
So I think for us, the process, it's faster than it sounds, I guess, right? So our first trip to Tennessee was March 2021, still in the middle of COVID, right? So, trying to escape from New York. So we did that, and we came down here. We saw our houses, with you. We were fortunate enough, Tony, and worked with you ahead of time. So probably maybe like January to February, we'd already been looking online. Yeah. So we were kind of, drawing a circle, trying to figure out needs, must-haves, etc. So then we started checking out the area. So that was March. And then in April, through the help of your filters, we found the land. Yep. Right? And then Tony Ann flew back, scouted it out with you, and then the builders, right? Appalachian Log Home, Dave Carter. And then I think, again, this was a huge plus. Since we had already identified the mortgage broker with your help, right? We already had pre-approval.
Yep.
So that was squared away. So basically, we made the offer through you, and then I think within a day, we were working.
I think it was within a day.
Yeah.
We were working with the mortgage company, right? Earl First, and they processed it through. So we closed in early June. And then since we knew the builder, we did the estimates in like July and August, and we had the construction loan in November.
Yeah, the process here is much simpler than New York. New York's just too many lawyers involved and too many people.
Yeah, so you figure November we closed, right? 2021, right? They started construction in late winter, like February, kind of February of 2022.
So I was trying to remember when you broke ground.
Yeah, we broke ground in February, then it hit a little bit of rain, so it got delayed for a little bit. But so you figure February, March 2022, and we moved in May 1st, 2023. So it was probably about a year of construction, a couple of weather delays here and there. But the builder had done a great job on supply chain management. You had done a great job identifying like all the other players. So everything was like nonstop. It wasn't like take a break, find a bank, take a break, find a builder. It was smooth sailing. So what is that? March 2021 start, first time ever come to Tennessee.
Yeah.
May 2023 move into a brand new log cabin.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. During COVID.
So let's talk a little bit, you kind of touched on that. What was the process like in terms of timing in Long Island? Because I know you were juggling that as well.
We had a bit of a problem with people buying our home. So, which we always expect that in New York.
It happens.
Yeah. I mean, we did, I think probably one of the benefits that we did, again, from a planning point of view, is we had used the same lawyer that had done like the last refinancing of our home. So the lawyer had all our information, spoke with him ahead of time. I asked him what he needed. So then we pulled copies of like permits, deeds, showing the closure of the, or the payout of the prior mortgage, had all that information, gave it to him. And he was like, okay, when you get a buyer, tell me. So we just, as soon as we got the buyer, gave him our, all our information, said go. And that simplified it a lot.
We also had a great real estate person.
Your agent is amazing.
She has great. Janet, excellent. So I think that helped too. And you guys spoke, which...
Oh, we stay in touch to this day. Yeah.
Which was really wonderful because it made that process so much simpler.
That way I'd be like, okay, what do you need on your end? Here's what we need on our end, and kind of keep it moving for you guys.
It's interesting too, as you went through that whole process, it kind of just reconfirmed all of our opinions and our values. So, again, our lawyer in New York was awesome. He did a great job.
Yeah.
But, like Tony Ann said, the closing process, it became part of a game. Like a brinksmanship game of changing the date, so we had to keep changing our plans. As soon as we got to Tennessee, smooth sailing. People are nicer, right? The builder worked with us, tried to help get everything squared away ahead of time to get us in as quick as he could.
Yeah. Even getting a rental that would
You helped us with that.
That was really helpful because you know we have big dogs. So
I love your dog.
yeah,
I'm partial.
Yeah.
So, you guys, when you first started looking, you were open to pre-owned home, land to build. Didn't matter. We were all over kind of looking at everything.
right.
So you guys did found the right parcel of land, build the home the way you wanted it. What would your recommendation be now for people who are having that same decision?
Well, I do want to say one thing about this. So we had seen land in Friendsville, and we decided we really liked Friendsville. We thought it was a very pretty area. And we had seen land, and we went to put a bid in, and it was gone. Like, immediate. It wasn't even out, and it was gone. So then he was disappointed. I was disappointed. And I said, well, you know, let's see. Maybe something else will come up. And 2 days later,
It came out.
a land came up, and then I flew down and I met you the next day, and Dave, and you know, the log cabin people, everybody was there, and
Yep. We pulled it.
we pulled it together, so that worked out really nice.
Yeah. I think
I remember that day. I remember hiking up the driveway.
My driveway, and my driveway's treacherous.
Yeah, I think what we try to do too is, so as Tony said, we had both, right? We had both options to pick from. So then it became, you know, we did the economic comparison, and it would have been a little less expensive to buy a pre-existing home. We would have had to put money into it
To make it the way we wanted it.
and we probably never would have gotten it the way we wanted
No.
it.
No,
Because it wasn't a log cabin.
No,
right?
yeah.
It wasn't a log cabin.
Yeah.
So then it became, okay, for a little bit more money and kind of the, you know, just having that dream of this is our log cabin and it's kind of a forever home, right? And again, then there's the reality of it's all brand new. You're not going to have problems with it, right? All your appliances, your roof, your structure. You know, the builder did a fantastic job, so you can count on everything. So now you got peace of mind as well, right? So you got the house of your dreams, peace of mind. Maybe you paid a little premium because it's brand new, but you're going to have many, many years of, you know, enjoyment.
well, it's like when people ask me, well, what should I do? I'm like, well, it's kind of like buying a new car.
Yeah.
You could go either way. You could buy a new car or a used car. You're going to pay a little more for a new car, but you may get choices you wouldn't have had otherwise. You have the peace of mind of knowing. So it really kind of depends on what works for you.
Yep.
And you guys did. I mean, your home is outstanding.
Thank you.
Truly outstanding. What were some of the biggest challenges and unexpected challenges that popped up that you guys faced?
Yeah. I have to say that going with the flow a little bit is very important when you're building, because not everything is going to go smooth.
No.
And sometimes things aren't quite the way you thought they'd be. You kind of have to relax about that. You can't get all stressed out. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's an important key if you're going to, especially if you're going to build.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we trusted the builder.
Yeah.
We trusted the builder. He was extremely knowledgeable. So, you know, as we're on a hill, so the exact elevation of the house had to be determined. And then as they cleared it, you started to see, okay, what's the layout of the land? You know, and then he'd recommend at that point that we really need to have a retaining wall just based on exactly where they cleared, you know, to place the house. So that was, you know, it was one of the things we had talked about. We weren't sure if we were going to need it. And again, it was going to depend on the clearing process.
Yeah.
So that came up, but, you know, Dave Carter handled it perfectly. Came up with a beautiful, like, natural
Beautiful idea
wall,
on how to handle it. Yeah.
you know. So as Tony said, we had to take it as it came. We had to trust, right? Trust the process.
Trust the process. Yeah.
Especially because you weren't here.
Yes.
Right. So
We're managing it from New York.
that's why, again, it's just so important to have people you can trust.
Trust.
Right? Any of the relationships, you had to have people you could trust.
Yeah.
What was good about the construction process was that, you know, Appalachian Log Home, it was like, that was our single source. So we did them as a general contractor, and then they outsourced everything else. So they controlled the rest of the job site, which was awesome. So we only had one person to call with questions or how's it going, you know, and to make any
We
interaction.
came down once a month to see. We'd stay for a few days and then drive back. You know, it was a good 12-hour drive.
Yeah.
I was supposed to. I remember you guys making many trips. And point. Oh, love your
Avis, even with the dogs, we made a few trips. They came to visit too.
Yep. They got to check out their new yard.
They did.
But I think we were even talking about it. We said there's really nothing we would change, you know. So looking back at the house now, it's done. There's nothing we would change.
That makes my heart so happy.
Right? We love the area. You know, we've gotten more comfortable. So I think there's a couple of roads that are a little tight, maybe for you know.
It's ugly.
coming from like a 4-lane highway in New York to like a more of a country road, which is what we wanted. It took a little bit of time to get used to it, but the house is perfect. The kitchen's perfect. The pantry's perfect.
We see
He's very excited about
we see where the
his
priorities are.
Double oven.
double oven.
You did get the chef's kitchen.
I did. I got the outdoor kitchen too, so
You did.
covered down there.
So I think you're justified in wanting the walk-in closet.
Yes, I think so. I thought so.
So what advice would you have for other people who are looking to make a substantial distance move? Anything that would make it smoother and easier for them?
I think you really got to plan. You got to start planning early.
Yeah.
So you got to start thinking about, there's a lot, depending on what's going on, you've got to start thinking about all the different pieces. So for us, that meant first taking a look at our own finances. I was getting ready to retire. So I knew what my existing salary was. I did some estimates on what my pension was going to be for retirement. So that helped solidify the income part. We knew that to get a mortgage, it's going to be a lot easier if we didn't have debt. So we were very fortunate. The only debt we had remaining was some car loans. So we paid them off just to get them off the books. We updated our budget so we knew what our expenses would be. We made some estimates for what we felt they would be, reasonable for Tennessee. So we had a good understanding then of that. So we had that part, covered. We, obviously finding the real estate agent is going to be another huge part, right? Mm-hmm. In the place where you want to be. So then that's now your network to getting all your answers there, and then we had to find a local real estate agent. And Janet Salveggio from New York was awesome.
She was amazing.
So we worked with her, and then she gave us the value of our house. So now we had our finances, we had approximate cost for a sale of our house. We knew from our lawyer approximate cost, his fees. We knew from you approximate cost to buy or build. We knew from your contact in the mortgage industries approximate mortgage fees. So we had a range. We were able to say, okay, here's our range of what we can do. So we knew that's huge. Because otherwise you could spend a lot of time and money and you're looking in the wrong direction, right?
Yeah.
So we have that. And then we also had to lay out kind of our must-haves and want-to-haves for the house. So then we can get back to you and say, this is what we're looking for. Is that doable? So once you have all those pieces, then it says, Tony Ann said, it's visiting.
Yeah, you got to get the feel. You got to make sure that it's the right space for you,
And we had all that information up front. We started out in a couple of different states, right? We started out in Virginia. We're like, nope. We went to North Carolina. We're like, nope. And then we came to Tennessee. And as soon as we got here, we're like, yeah. And then we went to Aubrey's, right? We went to Aubrey's in Maryville.
Yep.
And we met the waitress there.
She helped us.
And
she was like,
she was wonderful.
Yeah.
She's like, oh.
She almost sat down with us while we were having lunch. Oh, I'm going to help you guys.
She's like, here's some more towns you got to think
Here's
about.
some towns, She was great.
Yeah. So, if you didn't have all that planning, you couldn't narrow it down. At least that's my opinion.
I will never, as long as I live, forget your spreadsheets. I love your spreadsheets.
Well, most people in Tennessee forget the spreadsheets.
Yeah. But it was great information for me to be able to help you. And it also told me you'd done your homework. And that's, from my perspective, that's huge. Because like you said, the better people plan on the front end and the more of the homework they do, the smoother it is for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's everybody's goal. Smooth, happy, everybody at a closing table singing Kumbaya. That's what we want.
If we didn't have that plan, I don't think, you could have found that same plot of land, but if you didn't have the pre-approval, I don't know how much you could afford.
Would have lost it.
We would have lost it too long because we moved fast on that.
Yeah.
You had to move fast.
Yep. Do you guys have any kind of closing comments, anything that you would like to share before we wrap it up?
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to, again, is that trust factor. So, you could do your spreadsheets, right? I like that. You can come up with all your math, but, a huge chunk of it, again, is coming back to the right realtor to help you find it. Because if you don't have the right real estate agent, so we're extremely fortunate to have found you, Shelby. If we didn't have you, then I think our search would have been hampered, right? It could have taken a lot longer. We could have ended up in an area where maybe we would not have found something we would have liked. So you really need someone you can trust and you can build a relationship with, and you're gonna take their guidance.
Yeah.
Because if we challenged you on everything and said, "Now we don't believe that," it's just not gonna work.
Yeah, we had a real estate before Janet in New York, and when he walked in the door, I was like, nope. So you have to definitely, have to have the right person with you to help you with the process.
Yep.
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, y'all know I love you.
And we love you.
And I just appreciated getting to help you with that because it was such an amazing journey to watch from the very first, that night you and I had our very first phone call. And I was sitting on my sofa. And we chatted and I got off the phone and I remember saying to my husband, like, these are my people. Yeah. And like you said, it's got to be the right fit. And not every agent is the right fit for every client.
Yes.
That's totally fine. So y'all interview agents, make sure you get the right fit. You'll thank me later.
Yeah.
But it's do your homework, find that person. And I love what you said about trust what they tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you answered every question we had along the way.
Well, and I'm like, I'm going to give you the best answer I have because it doesn't do anybody any good to blow smoke up your skirt. So let's not waste the time.
Yeah.
There are times that people don't necessarily believe what we're telling them. And then all we're losing is time.
Yes.
And so that doesn't benefit anybody. So I love what you said about that. Thank you. If anybody is looking to buy, sell, or invest in the greater Knoxville area and you want to be taken care of by a trusted advisor as your agent, I would love the opportunity to speak with you. Please feel free to get in touch with me to schedule a complimentary consultation. You can reach me by email at shelby@brookshomegroup.com.